Welcome. We are now in chapter 10 of A Course of Love in the third treatise. And an interesting title for this chapter, An Exercise in Forgetting. At this time, there is a danger of rushing to replace the meaningless rather than allowing yourself to remember true meaning. This is a really common stage in everybody's journey, where there's a recognition that, oh man, what I believed my whole life and how I was basing my life isn't true, but you haven't completely stabilized in the new dimension, the new vibration, or the universe of truth. So there's like this kind of a lost feeling for a little while, like, what am I supposed to do now? We are asked to forget as much as we can of what we've learned about life in this world. Really, as much as you're able to drop it, your ideas of what you should do, who you should be, how things should work, any shoulds, as much as you're able to drop it, just let it go and find out what's really true. Just allow yourself to not know for a while. Verse 3, the first thing I ask you to forget is your need to find a place where blame can be placed. To blame yourself is as senseless as blaming others, and your inclination to place blame upon yourself must be given up as well. This is really about self-love and watching yourself. It is amazing the thoughts and the thought patterns that come up where we really chastise ourselves. And, a really helpful thing to do in this case is to, when you see those thoughts come up and you're judging yourself or you're blaming yourself, turn and celebrate whatever it is. It's really has a very interesting effect. It allows us to drop the blame. For instance, if I guess I'll tell the story I told in class when I was going to make myself a smoothie and I had all the ingredients together and I somehow I wasn't paying attention and I dropped the blender container and all of my smoothie ingredients went on the floor. Actually, I think I was making soup and it was peas and avocado and something else was cut up, and all these peas were across the floor. And I noticed the first instinct to come up was like, oh, I wasn't paying enough attention. Look, absolutely jumping to blame for what just happened. I recognized it and then turned and congratulated myself. Like, wow, you wanted to have that experience and you did it really well. You chose one where the peas went all over the floor. Hooray for you. We really had the full experience. And now I get to pick up all these little pieces and I get to wash them and really appreciate what's going into my smoothie and make sure everything's clean and really spend more time with my smoothie. Good for you. You did that really well. So it sounds funny, but if we get in the habit of doing this, where we turn when we catch ourselves blaming ourselves and we turn it on its head and compliment ourselves, like outrageously compliment ourselves, then the blame gets dropped and something new happens within. And I'm laughing about it because it's so against the way we've always done it, but that's the very reason it works. So really practice just giving yourself incredible compliments. Even if you think it's ludicrous, then laugh at yourself for doing it and just watch what happens. And he tells us that just as you watched fear come up, watch for blame to arise, because it will be there. And you set your intention to notice when you place blame on yourself or others. I mean, you have a very powerful mind. You can set your intention and program it call it to my attention, bring it to my consciousness when blame arises. And when you see it, you just drop it. You don't analyze it or try to replace it with a better thought. Although you can congratulate yourself for what you did. But blame is worthless. Just let it go. Verse 5. Although I offer it not as a replacement, what you will find will come in the place of blame is an idea of acceptance of what is, an idea that is needed now. We just keep coming back to this. And of course, this comes to us from all different sources. Byron Katie, Loving What Is, Matt Kahn, Love Whatever Arises. I mean, it comes from so many different sources. That's because it's the real deal. We need to move to that position where we love what is. And if you go back to the picture of the smoothie pieces on the floor, as soon as that idea arises, like, then we just like, you know what? This is what is. So, okay. That's what's needed. That's the key to turn the whole thing around. Verse 6, acceptance of what is acceptance that whatever is happening in the present moment is a gift and a lesson. It may not seem like it, but everything that comes to you now will be new. So everything that's happening because you are vibrating in a different frequency, your intentions are different, everything that happens to you now is going to be new. So pay attention and accept what is, love what is. Verse 7, being cognizant of this is the only way that the simultaneous learning and unlearning that was spoken of earlier will be able to be realized. Now, while life may seem much unchanged in its outward appearance, it is up to you to become aware of the total change that has in truth taken place. So going back to the first slide of the that feeling of loss, like, well, where am I? What's true now? Wanting to replace those ideas. This is what is going to bring you over the bridge. The acceptance of what is and being willing to drop the blame. Another essential practice now is to stop listening to the voice of the ego. These are old messages, echoes that still rise up. Now, I love the way he breaks this down here, because he tells us the ego thoughts, you'll recognize those. It's a very harsh voice. It's mean. It's full of self-doubt, and it's full of judgment, both of yourself and others. You see that voice, you know that that's an old track that you've been used to riding on, and you don't have to ride down that well-worn trail any longer. The Christ mind, on the other hand, you'll find is a very gentle voice. There's a quiet certainty about it. Now, I've experimented with this harsh voice, gentle voice thing. When you find yourself in a situation where you're needing to make a decision about what to do or how to handle something, you can actually turn your attention and say, what does the gentle voice say? And that voice will be there for you. And this is especially important to do with yourself, because at this stage of the game, we've been so harsh with ourselves for so long, and our ego has been merciless in taunting us, blaming us, just really giving us a hard time. And the gentle voice will treat the self with such kindness and compassion. So use it regularly. Again, you're not the one who's going to actually wake yourself up, but you're cultivating the ground so that the truth can now be remembered and can be revealed. So there is effort involved in just the thought world, in directing yourself and setting your intention, but you are fully capable of doing it. So look for the gentle voice. Verse 11, thus when uncertainty arises, you need but remind yourself that the time for uncertainty is past, It's a habit, a pattern of the old thought system. All you must do is not listen to it. Its voice will not be gentle or full of love. Its voice will hold the unmistakable edge of fear. And this is where you step into your mastery, the certainty, the mastery, where you just bless everything that happens, everyone you meet, and listen for the gentle voice. This is a new way of living. It might seem like a foreign thought system with no fear, no judgment, no uncertainty, no contrast, no division. It might seem like another world. Allow it to replace the old, because this is your true thought system. Verse 14. What we are doing now is much like translating the learned thought system of the ego into the thought system of the Christ self that you think you have forgotten. So what does that say? We're taking that learned thought system and having to use words and concepts in order to translate it into our real home language so that we can actually remember our home language. If you don't resist, it will return to you. In time, your communications will automatically come from the new thought system. So yeah, there's a time of kind of apprenticeship where you set your intention and you're very conscious as you can be. And when you forget, it's okay. You just drop it and begin again. There's no blame involved here. There's no, oh, I'm not doing it right. Please don't do that to yourself. Please don't do that. You're doing it perfectly. You're unfolding perfectly, just as you're supposed to unfold. And if you just relax into that, then your true thought system will soon become your regular operating mode. Verse 16. These lessons that will enter your mind and heart will, of necessity, need to be translated into the language of the body as well. Now, notice this. He's not saying you're gonna leave and go to La La Land. No. This whole thing is designed to include the human experience. So it's got to be translated into the body. The body's got to come along on the ride. A lot of us have been living up above our heads or somewhere in our bodies. We haven't actually occupied the entire body. But now that's changing. That's changing as we change, because we're doing something new. Just as the Christ did this and came back in a body, we are staying as humans to be God expressing as humans through the human experience. We're not transcending it. We are transforming the human experience. So back to the verse, while your human form remains, you will be dwelling among those in human form. While you continue to encounter those who exist in the house of illusion, you will continue to encounter temptations of the human experience. So you are on this mission because you chose it, and because you're brave and you're bold and you're creative and you're love, and you wanted to transform. So rejoice in the fact that you're here and that you get to learn how to do this creative and wonderful thing as the universe expressing through human form. It's really something to be celebrated. People will be drawn to you because they remember. And you will want everyone to remember with you. And living from your true thought system is the way to help. That's the way you're going to really be with everyone, because we are now in the stage of experience. And in order for someone to really get a glimpse of another person who is in the universe of truth, when the first person is still in the house of illusion, it becomes an energy issue. So if you're walking around in the world and you are living in the and conscious of living, because of course they're in the world universe of truth as well, but they're not conscious of it, and you're conscious of living in the universe of truth, you are vibrating at a different frequency. And when you encounter others, they are going to pick up on that, and they're going to recognize it, and they're going to be able to raise their vibration just by being around you. It becomes a transmission of sorts. And this is how the world will change. By enough people moving into this new / real, original frequency, so that we all transform together. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in chapter 11.